According to the New York Times, Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos is considering a plan that would provide federal funding to help arm teachers. Predictably, the left reacted with outrage.
Teachers don't want guns. They know it makes them a target if, God forbid, a shooter comes into the school. And now, DeVos wants to take federal funds away from instruction so that the school district can buy guns for teachers? What is that all about?
Senator Schumer knows not what he says, and nor is he giving a proper representation of what the secretary is trying to do. But joining me now for a debate is Guns Down Executive Director Igor Volsky and Laura Carno, founder of Faster Colorado. I thank you both for being here. Igor, I get the idea that you advocate and don't want any guns at any schools. And I wish the bad guys wouldn't bring guns into schools or really anywhere.
Well, look, we're on the same page. I think we should have a country with fewer guns, a country where guns are significantly
that's where we're on a different page. That's where we're on a different page.
A safer country. Look at us. Same page, Jason.
No, I think your utopia that you describe is just fiction, and it's not reality. So let's pretend that somebody does bring a gun into the school. Then what do you advocate?
Well, I mean, if somebody brings a gun into a school, that situation should be dealt with. But what we know is that when...
But how? But how?
Well, I mean, it depends on what happens. If somebody reports the student, he's going to be dealt that way. If he starts some kind of incident, certainly police are going to be called. But in terms of arming teachers, right, which is the question here, what we've seen time and time and time again is that individuals who are carrying firearms do not respond well in an active shooting situation. The adrenaline that runs through your body in those moments, without the proper training that professionals have in this field, you're not going to be able to handle this well, and oftentimes innocent people get hurt. So this correlation between
do you think more innocent people get hurt if there's nobody on? Wait, hold on, Igor. Is there more people getting potentially hurt if there's no resistance? Or is there, if there is somebody who's there to protect maybe themselves and their kids?
You know, the FBI actually looked at this very question. They looked from 2000 to 2013 at active shooting situations, and they actually found that unarmed individuals were far more successful at disarming the intruder than armed people.
If I got a guy with a gun in my school, I want to have a gun with me too. So, Laura, let's get your perspective, because Faster Colorado, you've dedicated part of your career here and your efforts to actually help engage teachers. How would you see this working?
Yeah, and it's working today. We've got hundreds of armed school staff already in Colorado and thousands across the country. And what it comes down to is these are our school staff, teachers, janitors, whoever. They would die to protect their kids. And in all of these school shootings you see, they're dying to protect kids. They can protect kids and live and be able to save kids and go back to their own families. And you know, we hear a lot of these statistics. They're not completely accurate. What we do know is that when somebody is there on scene to stop the killer as close as possible to where he starts his crime, fewer people are hurt or die. Yeah. The alternative is you have to wait for law enforcement. And if it's even 3 minutes, most of these things are over in 3 to 5 minutes. That's a lot of people dying with nobody there to stop a shooter.
And Igor, this is where I think you're wrong, because it will take law enforcement even just a few minutes, and the carnage that can ensue is just so wrong. When I went to school up in Middle Park in Granby, Colorado, a small school, I had Coach Schmidt. Guess what? Coach Schmidt knew more about guns than probably anybody I've ever met and know. And him wielding a gun or having a little sidearm, I think would have made us a lot safer. Guns aren't for everybody. You got to have an aptitude and a desire, but nobody's suggesting that every teacher do this. What's wrong with Coach Schmidt having a gun in the school?
Well, listen, if that coach has the right amount of training, maybe we can think about it. But look, I think we can all agree that guns are too easy to get in this country, that we should work
No,
on making
I
sure
disagree with
that
you.
that
I
gun
disagree
never
with you.
gets into the school. We got to make guns harder to get, because all the data shows us that fewer guns means safer communities. And you talk about a utopia. You know, all other high-income countries
come
have
on, look
far
what's going
less
on in
gun
Chicago.
violence
I don't
than
buy
we
that.
do.
Look what's going on in
Jason,
Chicago. Chicago has some of the toughest gun laws out there.
I'm happy to talk about Chicago, but you're the one who brought up a utopia, this idea where you can live in a gun violence-free world. And I'm telling you, nations around the world are living that utopia, and they're living it because they have fewer guns, because guns there are harder to get.
Laura, how do we best protect our kids? What's the right thing? What is the right policy for schools?
Yeah, we protect our kids the way we protect our families. And people can make decisions to have a school that doesn't have armed staff and does have armed staff, and parents can choose. But for my kids, for my grandkids, I want somebody there who can stop whatever happens, whether it's a fire, whatever other danger, including active killers. And what we know about active killers, Jason, is that the next one's out there. He's already planning his crime. No amount of gun control is going to stop him. So what are we going to do when he comes to the door of the school, gets into the school like we keep seeing? Somebody has to be there to stop him, or we're going to see more kids die and more school staff die. And you're right. We've got janitors who are all over the school, coaches, they're all over the school. There are lots of folks, and in my training program, we see them. They're all volunteers. They raise their hand and they say, pick me to save kids. That's what we should be looking at across the country.
We got a lot of former military people. We got a lot of former policemen that should be involved and engaged. I think the right answer, it's not for everyone, but those that are trained and those with an aptitude, I think, should be in those schools, and it'll make those schools safer. I thank you both for your passion on this issue and coming on the air to discuss it tonight.